It's about to awakening, heard all over the world. What's going
KEMBO, Natata Nzambi and Mama Ndombe. All KEMBO belongs to them. Hallelujah. Hey, family, welcome. And I know it's been a long time since we've been on YouTube, but we have been meeting. And we just thank the Most High for this opportunity to be with you again. We love you and we thank you for joining us and being with us. I say, Siami to you, family, community on Zoom. Welcome. Thank you for being with us, Mbote. What we are going to talk about today is entitled The Abuse of the Chosen. I could also say the abuse of the seed or the abuse of the asili. And asili, A-S-I-L-I, meaning seed. What I'm going to be sharing with you, there's going to be some disturbing photos, but this need to be talked about because of what has happened to us as a people. I'm sorry. So I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm hearing the baby crying in the background. It's getting to me. Okay. But I've been going through my mind trying to figure out how do I want to truly start this off? How do I want to present this? And I think the best way that I can put this, and I ask that you all will bear with me, please, is when someone has come along and taken a child out of their home and taken them into an environment. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Okay, family, forgive me for that. But you've taken a child away out of its environment and you've taken it into another environment and you raise that child the way you desired to raise that child. And you've taken the culture of that child away. You've taken the language of that child away. And what you have taught this child and shown this child was to be nothing more than a servant. And you have literally made this child a slave and told this child that they can be nothing more than a slave. So when you've done that with this child, when you've done that with children, that mentality, they have nothing, truly nothing else to fall back on except what they have been taught. And it goes through to their children and to their offspring and so on and so forth. It continues to go through the generations. This is what has happened to us melanated people who've been taken off of the continent of Africa. There's a lot of us who say they're not from Africa. They're not Africans. They have separated themselves. They've distanced themselves from their brothers and sisters on the continent and say, we are not them because they sold us. Again, going back to what I just said, when you are taught something different and you have nothing else to fall back on. You refuse to do your due diligence by researching. You refuse to try to understand and to listen to the elders, to those who are on the continent, who know our history. But then we have our brothers and sisters who are on the continent who feel that we have a much better life than they do. And so they look at us side eye. Some have even said that we did not come back to help them or to get them and to help them have a better life. Let me just put it this way. We have been imprisoned on both sides. My brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa, you have been imprisoned in your own home. And those of us in the diaspora have been imprisoned in the diaspora. They will only allow us to do so much. And you know what? You all see these artists, rap artists, singers, and people who have money living in these beautiful, luxurious homes, mansions, and driving around in nice cars and having nice clothes on. But you don't realize these individuals, these people that you see, are enslaved. They are literally enslaved. And it's hard for them to break out. It's hard for them to get out of it. And if they try, most of them end up dead. The individuals, these demons, I don't want to say individuals, that control the music industry, the film industry, they're nothing more than plantation owners. They love to sit back and watch us entertain them, because that's all we're good for. And making them money. Yeah, they give us a little bit to keep us happy. Make us think that we have a good life. Yeah, look at everybody else. You got a better life than they. They love your music. They're going to go out and buy it. Keep doing it. Keep putting it out there. But even these singers don't get rest for their bodies because they're made to get out there and perform. Go make my money. Kind of sounds like a pimp, doesn't it? Go make my money. This is the condition which we're in. I want to share some things with you all. Anyone have anything to say so far?
You know, y'all, go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on some of the things you said that we've noticed growing, as we've been growing up in the Americas. You mentioned how our silly, since we've been transitioned through slavery, over here through enslavement, how we've become like them. You know, I remember before integration took off in the South, how our neighborhoods were segregated. And you fast forward to the 90s, just in those few less than 20 years, you know, you can see the difference already changing in the youth coming up because of the social services programs that took the fathers out of the households. You know, this has been a script. When you go back to how the Greeks perfected the art of manipulating the human body to get the human being to do what it wants to do, and then perfected the aspect of leadership. And then Rome conquers them, and Rome does further research to manipulate the being. At some point, we have to understand that what's happening to us isn't just happening. This has been so well planned.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to wake up and realize that if we don't do something to develop a sense of unity, to educate our youth to understand the importance of respecting elders, or importance of respecting cultural values, then we will see a continual deterioration. These are the things that has us separated. You know, this sister did a video that I sent yesterday, and she just went all out on, I felt her. She was crying. I mean, just, you know, in the beginning, when I turned it off in the beginning because it was pulling so much at my heartstrings. I was about to start crying. It's like, man, I feel everything this sister's saying. So I turned it back on to continue watching it. And it's just interesting how she went through that emotional state, high emotional state, to just balance it off with nothing but pertinent information. Everything she said was on point. But everything she spoke of has been a plan. Like, we just didn't determine to treat each other like this. We literally have been beaten and broken to behave this way, you know. And the sorrowful, sad part I see about it is most of us, we act in our emotional body when we're dealing with each other. We have these attitudes. We're impatient. We begin saying things against one another. You know, and I grew up in a family like that. And that's why sometimes you hear me go silent when things are in that kind of a state of talking. It brings up a part of me that's very uncomfortable. In those days, I sought to have peace in the household. And I see our people have gotten so much far away from what I wanted for our people back then. So this is an issue we have to really give some serious focus to. We didn't choose to become who we are, but we can choose to break this indoctrinated spell that they have us under. They have us idolizing people. I was so happy to hear you point on this, because I think the academics and actors and they get too much credit in our community. People contribute nothing back, and their postures that they take, they don't tell the truth about the positions they actually hold. You said it better, brother, than anyone. They are more enslaved than any of us out here. They can't make a move without these people hawking them. They can't do a thing without someone overseeing them. Their monies, as we see, aren't theirs. They can lose all of that in the drop of a hat. So like, and so they feed our youth to pursue these insidiously insane careers and pathways for success. And all they're doing for Bantu people is they're leading us further away from Tata Nzambi. This is just a trick of our enemy.
Yes, it is.
I just wanted to kind of touch on that.
Powerful. Matondo. You hit some things, my brother. Yes, sir, and Kosi Kangi.
Yeah, I was going to say, from what you said about regarding that, I remember watching a short video of Prince, and he was explaining how the music executives were telling him, well, Prince wanted to renegotiate and get fair compensation for his artistry. And he said they didn't want to do it. And they even told him, he said, well, I'll just begin to make my own music, and I'll produce it, and I'll get it out marketed. They told him, he said, I remember saying in the meeting, they said, we own you.
Yep.
You have to remember, we own you, Prince. And that's when he decided to become known as the artist formerly known as Prince. And yet he still ended up dead. You know, he was letting people know how they really were.
Yes. Yeah. You no longer don't own yourself.
No, you do not.
You know, let me just take it a little bit further. We don't even own ourselves.
Nope.
They've given us social security numbers. That's nothing more than a number that you get when you go to jail or in prison and they take your picture.
Wow.
That's
So
how they
track-
identify you.
So
Yes.
it's a tracking number.
Yes.
You can't do anything without that number. Try and do something without those numbers.
You can't.
Start with the birth certificate when you're
Yep.
born.
Yes.
They own us from the time we come out the womb. 1 second, and they own us.
And they give you a number.
And most of us don't know, like if we never sign a birth certificate, then you never give up your sovereignty.
Mhm.
And what wealthy people do is they create trust funds. So you have a trust fund identification number, and you never have to have a social security number. But this knowledge doesn't get spread out to our communities. I learned this from an attorney some years back. You know, when you're having a talk for any of our youth out there, contact a lawyer and create something that's called an UGMA account. And it's a trust fund identification where you can, rather than signing up, you know, when you have your child, don't sign the birth certificate. You can note it however you like to. Don't do that. That way your child maintains its sovereignty and never has to pay into anything in this system. When your children are becoming of age, they can use this trust fund identification number in the place of signing a W-4. Because once you sign a W-4 form, you agree to pay taxes for the rest of your natural life, and you can't get out of it. But if you never sign that W-4 form, you're not obligated to pay taxes. So all these little loopholes that they don't tell us that has us and our community suffering. But you lose your sovereignty when a birth certificate is signed.
Yeah. And you know, they demand that.
Yep.
They want that birth certificate.
Yes. They demand it.
They
You
threaten
can't.
They threaten you.
They
Yes.
threaten you. And you don't have to sign it. You don't have to do any of what they say.
Right.
But if you
Now-
don't know, like
Yep.
Mhm.
If you don't know, exactly.
then they'll
Mhm.
keep you in the dark, and then you'll be fearful of what they're going to do to you. You know,
Yep.
You,
if
you
you don't
know,
Yes.
what we need to do is like what our people did in the past is the midwives and have the children at home so that they would not get locked into the system, you know, and then homeschool your children. The problem is the
Right.
system. That's the issue. Is getting out of their system. Their system is a system that was designed to enslave people to work for them, because when slavery ended, they still had to come up with a way to keep themselves, the few that were empowered. They had to be clever enough to come up with a way to keep the status quo, where it was just a few that were in power and on top. So they restructured slavery into what we know it as of today. And it included not only us, but also their people as well. The system that they have in place now, it is enslavement. That's all it is. It was this one guy, this Caucasian, was talking, saying that if you bringing in a certain amount of dollars for a company that you work for, and you making maybe, let's say $20 an hour. They said, do you really think that you're getting, you know, anything in comparison to what they're bringing in? You will never be able to make your money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to get out of this system.
Yes.
We can say all day long, don't sign this, don't do this. It's just, we can do it, but it's going to be very, very hard for us to maneuver around in this system. And then they will do things to try to take your children away, because we are in captivity in their land. We have to leave under their system from these oppressive people. All they know is domination, steal, kill, and destroy. That's all they know. That's all they know.
And they're doing that on our land. They're doing that on the continent. They're doing it. They look at the control that they have on the continent.
But it's only through the leaders.
That's what I was going to say. They got their puppets.
But see, what needs to happen is our people need to wake up. not only in America, but on the continent. It's more of us than it is of them. And we need to wake up and take back what's our. I had my grandchildren watching Lion King today.
Told him. Go ahead.
And he left home. I told him there's so much symbolism, which we knew when I first watched this. I didn't know, but we watched it again when we were awakened. And I saw the symbolism, and I see even more of it now that I'm more awakened. So it's a lot of not just us, but also our family on the continent. But he left home. Okay, I told him they had to take out slavery and put that he ran away from home. No, they took us away from home. And so somebody else came and took his throne, right? Because he was gone and was not home. And that's what has happened to us. Another group of people have come and taken our authority. We are the original, the melanated black man, woman, girl, boy, child. We are the original beings on earth. We are the original people on earth. The first created. We are the parents.
Yes.
We have allowed another group of entity to come over and take dominion over what is ours. Okay, so we have to take it back. When Simba woke up to who he was and what he realized what took place, he awakened. It was an awakening that took place within him. He went back home. He took what was his. How? He had to fight the one that took it from him. Because the one that took it from him wasn't ready to give it up. And he had people behind him. So these puppet leaders to be taken down. Our family on the continent need to do what they need to do to take back dominion into their hands.
Yes. Yes.
Because until we do what we need to do, like, so I was listening to somebody and they said some truth unto what they're saying. You know, they said that. Listen and hear me out clearly.
Come on.
They said we're enslaved because we want to be enslaved. If we don't want to be enslaved, then we need to do what we need to do. We are afraid of doing what we are supposed to do. We're afraid, oh, they're going to kill us. Or they're going to take away our jobs. We're afraid. We have allowed fear. Our ancestors didn't fear death. They looked death in the face because they knew that death was not the end. They knew that they come on and they're singing the circle of life. They knew that we just go around this circle in life. They knew that death was not the end, but they have allowed. We have been placed in a position where we have been so manipulated psychologically, mentally, and spiritually, till we have paralyzed ourselves from doing what we need to do. So we need to look fear in the face, like our ancestors looked death in the face and said, fear, I don't fear you.
Come on.
I don't fear you. Because, you know, our ancestors said, I'd rather be dead than a slave, a lot of them said, because being a slave is not living. So I'd rather be dead where I know that I am living. I'm still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that I will resurrect again. See, we have to have that mindset. That's why I said, man, know thyself. And they kept saying on Simba, know who you are. Remember who you are. Remember who you are.
Let me drop a nugget real quick. I want to drop a nugget real quick. You all heard her mention, and we will resurrect. It is not the resurrection that we've been taught. No, that's not it. Resurrection is rebirth. Remember when Jesus said, who do man say that I am? And they said, some say you are Elijah. Remember that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The ones they named to us were dead. All right. But
Mhm.
that's your resurrection. When the spirit of that person returns, that's the resurrection. Some say you have the spirit of Moses. Some say you have the spirit of Enoch. Some say you have the spirit of Elijah. Some say you, that is resurrection. It's not the getting up out of the grave as we've been taught it was.
Now, you said something that was very, very key there, that we didn't think about it when we were in Christianity because we were blinded, of course, like our family members that are still in Christianity, they are blinded by the lies. But when you look at that particular passage, when it says, who do some say I am? They name people that were his ancestors that were dead. Did they not?
Yes,
So
they
the
did.
question they need to be asking themselves, see, Christianity do not allow you to think, and they don't allow you to ask questions.
Mhm.
You see? So they need to be asking, why are they saying and naming these dead people, quote unquote, dead, supposedly dead people that he's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Because as you said, they knew that the spirit doesn't die.
Mhm.
The spirit resurrects. I mean, I was thinking about one day how they have so paralyzed us spiritually to how we just don't think. You go to church and you think you are experiencing the creator, but you are not. You are not learning nothing about the very little, I should say, about the creator, very little. You learn, I have been learning more just by paying attention to nature, the things in the sky, than I did in Christianity. You look at the creation out of nature, everything is cyclical. Nothing dies, it comes back. So what about us?
Come on.
Created in his image,
Come on.
of his sons and daughters. Huh? So you think that we're gonna die and that's it when a plant resurrect and come back? Huh?
Go on. Go on.
Everything goes back. You go into winter. You think summer ain't coming back. Summer peep his head up. Spring peep her head up. She comes back. The sun goes down. Do you think the sun is not going to come back? The sun comes back. The moon goes down. You think the moon is not going to come back? The moon comes back. I'm coming back.
Come on. Come on.
All you have to do, see, they got us stuck in these houses and these buildings now. Our ancestors were out in nature and they learned and knew so much about the creator because, you know, the creator in church, they said he's omniscient. He's everywhere. But then yet they sit up there and believe this passage that say he's a man that's sitting up high on a throne. No, he's not. No, the creator is not. No, she's not. They're in the plant. The creator's in the plants, in the air, in the sun, in the moon, in the water, in the plants, in me, in the ants.
Come on.
And all
Come on.
animals.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
We see even the chair that Nzambi is sitting on, the essence of the creator is in that. Why? Because it came from a tree.
Yep.
And the creator is in the tree. They say if you put a piece of wood from something you created from wood up on a microscope, you'll see small things moving. That chair is not dead. Huh?
That's right.
But see, they got us so manipulated.
Yes, they do.
Mentally,
Yes.
spiritually. We didn't know who the creator really was in Christianity. That's just the truth of the matter. Whomever this hit, it hit. If it hurt you, it hurt. The truth is the truth, and it has to be told, and it has to come forth. Christianity does not do a good job at all. In fact, it failed us. teaching us who the creator is.
Yeah.
They teach you to fear the creator.
Yes.
They teach you serve the creator. I told somebody that's still in Christianity. I said, who do you say God is? What do you call God? I said, you call him your father, right? I said, do you serve your earthly father? Do you worship your earthly father? He said, no, I honor him. I said, same way with thy heavenly father. We don't worship him. We not in the sense that they taught us. I said, we honor and revere him. You don't worship your parents. They have done a disservice, Christianity, to us and our people. We will not be able to return back to who we are and to restore what we need to restore and to back what's rightfully ours until we return back to who we are. And that includes our sacred spiritual science, our spirituality. It ain't religion. The Bible says that you should worship him in what?
Spirit and truth.
Spirit and truth.
Spirit and truth.
Yeah.
That's why you have spirituality. Religion does not have anything. Religion is just man teaching, trying to teach through dogma, their belief of who the creator is. Another man can't tell you about the creator. You have to experience the creator for yourself. In fact, you will not know until you go inside, because when you look in the mirror, you're looking at the creator.
Say that again. Say that again.
So you can learn more and teach yourself more about the creator than anybody outside of yourself. Why would I put the responsibility of my life, my spiritual life, in the hands of another? But that's what we do when we go to these churches, and they say you have to have, quote unquote, a covering over your head. When my husband was had his church and he was pastoring, he was independent, and somebody asked, who's your covering? I said, what do you mean? Who's for y'all? You need a covering. I said, well, God is our cover. God is over us. But you need somebody. I said, well, who's over that somebody? I asked her, I said, who's over that somebody that's over us? She said, God. I said, well, just like God is over them, God can be over us.
Right.
So I told you all I was a little different when I was in Christianity. That's why I'm not surprised I am where I am today, because I questioned a lot of things that just did not make sense to me. Some things I didn't say anything. I just held it in my heart that didn't make sense to me at all. But the bottom line, we're living a lie because we're not living who we are. We have become somebody that we are not. And the creator is not pleased. Our father and mother is not pleased with us and how we're living. They're waiting for us to come back to who we are. That is why they wrote on the walls, man knows himself. One day the ancestors were wise, very wise. They knew one day their children would forget who they are. And so they wrote that on the walls. And some white man tried to take the credit for it. No, it's written on the walls. You can't take the credit of what our ancestors said. They left the message for us to remember who you are. We are kings and queens. We come from gods and goddesses, and we're living beneath who we are. We have to shed off all these things that we have put on, all these European ways that we have taken upon ourselves to where we hate ourselves, and so we hate each other. We have to shed ourselves of these things. We have been so damaged, my people. We have been so damaged that we hurt each other. We're so hurt that we hurt each other. When I was braiding my grandson, the youngest son, a grandson's hair, he just screams and cries. His older brother got in front of him and he swung at him. Why? I'm hurting, so I'm gonna hurt somebody else. I can't hurt BB because I'll get in trouble. So you done got in front of my face, so I'm gonna swing at you because I'm hurting and I want to let this anger out. Now, why did I say that? The white man has hurt us in so many ways. Is this not what you all are talking about? Has done so much, not just psychological, spiritual, but physical harm to us. And we feel like we can't lash out at them because why? Something will happen to us. So what we do? We try to lash out at somebody that we feel is less than. You can't really do that much to me, but this one can. So I'm gonna lash out. So we lash out at each other. We hurt each other. We kill each other. We steal from each other.
Yeah.
Family, we are in a very dire strait right now. I know change is coming. You all know change is coming. But we have to return back to who we are, the kings and queens, the gods and goddesses of who we are. Those Greeks, when they came into the land of our ancestors, they revered and respected our ancestors. They begged to learn from our ancestors. And I have said to myself within, I wish my ancestors wouldn't have taught them not an iota thing, because they took the little bit that our ancestors taught them, turned around and used it against us. You cannot, as they say, you can take a horse, lead him to the water. You can't make him drink water. I have so much full understanding of that now. You can't change a beast and make a beast a king. That beast is going to come out when he's sitting on the throne. You're going to see who he really is. A beast is going to be a beast. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The beast does nothing but what a beast does. You can't change a beast.
BASSEH. There is something I want to say, but before I do, does anyone, I give you opportunity to say what's on your heart. All right. She said, we have to wake up to who we are. She said, we are kings and queens. A lot of us, and I'm speaking to my melanated brothers and sisters, have a problem with acknowledging yourself and others as kings and queens. Let me tell you why you have a problem with that. Because you've been reprogrammed. You don't know who you are. This is why you disconnect yourself from your brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa. We have existed from the beginning. When human beings was first put on this earth, they looked like us. They were melanated. So we're speaking perhaps millions of years. If you do your research, these other entities never came about until maybe 12.
62,000 years, they say.
And I'm extending it just from the time that we saw that information. So I'm just extending a little bit. She said from 6 to 10,000 years ago.
They say.
They say.
Because the whole.
Okay. Now, again, human beings look like us. No other people, no others. They look like us. The other entities came about anywhere between 6 to 10,000 years, they say. 6 to 10,000 years ago. They're young. Okay? So why am I saying this? I'm saying it because we held the fort down. This earth was given to us as our dominion. And we did that. We had that. We are people who love. We are people who are compassionate. We are people who help one another. We never looked at trying to be better than anyone else. And I'm specifically speaking about our ancient ancestors, those of us who existed before the beings came about. We were not trying to have more than somebody else. We were not trying to be greater or higher or better than anyone else. If I had, you had. There was peace across the land. Did you hear me? Peace across the land. We didn't know anything about war.
Not to the extent that they're doing.
There was no dividing of land, no separation. We all were one. But when they came about, and we graciously opened our arms and received them because of our nature, they came in and they lived among us. They observed us and they followed us for some time until they got to know exactly how we operated and how they could get to us. And they flipped the script. Now, look at us. And because of what I said earlier, us being taught by them because we were taken off of our land, and the way we have been taught by them, what we have learned by them, we act like them. This language that I'm speaking right now is a very young language. And it's a language that curses me. It curses us. It is not my original language. It is not my tongue. But I was born in the diaspora. I am an African who was born out of Africa. When you look at this place where I am and how they labeled me African first and then said American. That says we own you. And a lot of my brothers and sisters on the continent want to come here because you think it is a better life. No, please hear me. If you come here, the first thing they will tell you is do not connect with us because we're lazy. We're bad influence. what they're doing is manipulating your mind. See, that's how that reprogramming works. They start feeding you wrong information. They've give you lies so that when you do come into this country and they give you that slip to say you can work, you already have a perception of what we're like. And therefore, I don't want to be bothered with them. And you look down on us. And then you wonder, how come some of us don't like you? I'm just being real.
Because they told us they didn't.
And it is thank you. Brenda said it before I could. It's because these evil entities have said, because y'all don't like us. So when we see you in the diaspora and you looking down on us, turning your nose up, won't even talk to us, won't even acknowledge us, now we're thinking it's true. Y'all don't like us. Do you see the game? We're brothers and sisters. They have literally came into our house and divided and separated brothers and sisters. And they're trying to keep it that way. And a lot of us have fallen for it and refuse to reconnect. We got to drop that mindset. It is a lie. It's a lie. The abuse of the chosen. When I said, and Brenda said that we are gods and goddesses, let me tell you something. Let me just kind of break it down like this. When you see movies of these superheroes and they get their powers some kind of way. Let's take Superman. Let's use him, for example. Superman came from another planet, right? On the planet he was on, he could not fly. He had no superpower. He wasn't strong, nothing. None. But the moment he came to Earth and came into contact with the sun, the yellow sun that we see, because their sun was red, come in contact with the yellow sun, he can now fly. He now had the power to pick up a car with one hand. He can blow his breath and freeze stuff or cause a hurricane. He can fly around the world 3 times, maybe more, in one day. The thing is this: when he realized he had these powers, he had to learn how to control them. He didn't know that he had the powers until he took off running from somebody because he didn't want to fight, and he zoomed like Flash. And it was like, hey, whoa. I'm superhuman. What I'm trying to say is there are powers that are within you that you don't know that you have. They're dormant. You do not believe that you have these powers because of the manipulation that we were given. But I'm here to tell you that you do have those powers. You just have to tap into them and learn how to operate them, how to control them. Do you not know that we are in a time right now that when you speak something, it happens?
Basse.
Oh, come on. Are y'all hearing me? I got one basse.
Yes. Basse.
Basse.
Right.
Oh, we are in a time that when you speak, it happens. That's us. When we speak, not when they speak, when we speak.
Yeah. Look what's happening now.
Right. And it's not begging.
No, we don't beg.
Right.
We decree and declare,
Decree and
and it
declare.
happens.
Yeah.
We are powerful people.
Oh, yes.
Very powerful people.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
It's not only what comes out of our mouth. We have
Our thoughts.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You think it, you are right. It will take place.
Yes.
And I just want to have a little fun, just a little fun. Going back to the superhero thing, we all heard of the Justice League, right?
Mhm.
So, so you have all these different superheroes that have come together to fight for justice, to fight against evil. What do you think will happen when we all come together?
And fight for justice and fight against evil.
Come on.
And evil would not have a chance.
Come on. Come on. This is all I'm saying. Know who you are. You are kings and queens. Yes, you are. You are gods because we are the children of the Most High, created in his image after his likeness, their image. Forgive me. Created in their image after their likeness. Brenda said it earlier. When you look in the mirror, you are looking at God. You're looking at the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Know
Make
who
it plain.
you are.
Yes. And all of our ancestors that we've read about that were doing these exploits, remember, we have our DNA has that same DNA sequencing as it came down generations.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So now I said that I have some things that I'm going to show that's disturbing. But no, I ain't showed them yet because we've been on a roll here. So, let me share this. All right. Abuse of the chosen. Mama's wrath is here. I'm telling you, mama ain't playing. Mess with a black mama's child and see what happened. They have messed with Mama Ndombe's children, and they're about to find out. Let us look at this word abuse. What is abuse? And I'm going to go through this quickly. A corrupt practice or custom, improper or excessive use or treatment, language that condemns or vilifies, usually unjustly, intemperately, and angrily, physical maltreatment, a deceitful act. Does all of these fit what we have gone through and yet going through?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So when you look at this, it says that it's 7 types of abuse. We got physical at the top, physical abuse. emotional abuse,
Mhm.
verbal abuse. And let me move this. Economic abuse. Oh, we can definitely attest in all of these.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mental abuse,
Mm-hmm.
sexual abuse,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual abuse.
Definitely.
We have experienced all of these, all of them. Especially, the one that really, all of these stand out to me. But when we look at the sexual abuse, what really went through my mind was how they had raped
Mm-hmm.
our mamas.
How they still are
Mhm.
raping.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. None of it has stopped.
No, it hasn't. And it hurt me. It angers me. I'm just gonna say it. It angers me
Me
when
too.
I see our queens marrying them. It angers me because you're cutting off your lineage. You are stopping the resurrection. You're cutting it off. And you're mating, I'll say it again, you're mating with an entity that is not human.
Exactly.
But when we see that, what we see is the effect of the mental abuse. That's what we see. We're looking at the end result of all of this abuse. We've gotten to a point to where we trust them more than we trust ourselves.
Yes. Yes. All of these abuses, we have suffered them, and still, especially also the finance.
Mm-hmm.
It is not peaches and creams over here. Yes, ma'am. Not that bad, man.
I'm sorry, y'all was laughing at my grandson. We're talking about abuse. I was listening to this teaching that just popped up on my feed. I don't know how old it is, but this black guy was doing a teaching on it, and he was basically, in short, and he was proving how the Rothschild, they're the one that own this quote unquote Egyptology. They own. Nobody can write within their space about it unless they give approval of it. So that's why, we have all these lies how Egyptians were white, because they went in and they took ownership of this. And I saw last year, I had come across this word Egyptomania, how they have become fanatics with Egypt and the things of Kemet. And these museums where they, I know the Museum of England, I think it is, he said, the Rothschilds are the ones that fund these museums. So we can't believe nothing that they say when it comes to our land, you all. I've gotten to the point when I come across something that's talking about our land, Kemet, Egypt, and it's them. I know they said something you can find things, I bypass it. I know some things that, like this one guy, his last name I think is Bearded or something like that. He was one of the first ones that wrote about Egyptology, and in his book he said that they were black. You ain't hear him no more talk about the Egyptians being black after that. And he became the curator. I think I don't know if it was after that or before, the curator of the Museum of England, which Rothschild, one of the Rothschilds, was sitting on the board or something, but was over that was funding it. So all these lies that have been perpetuated, about us and our land. It comes from these Jewish people. Because they have lied and usurped our position. And so they have to continue the status quo to the world, telling the world, you know, who we are. Because if they give up Egypt to us, they had to cover that up, because in the Bible, they kept it in there how a lot of those people were mistaken, that they said are the children of God, you know, the chosen people. They got mixed up in thinking that they were Egyptians. So they had to change the narrative and try to show and make them white to keep that narrative going, or saying that they are white people. But luckily, our ancestors, they were meticulous in showing who they were, you know, on the walls. And we know that they're going through great lengths to even change that up now, to try to lie to the world, so much to the point now that these Arabs over there that are in Kemet, they really think that those were their ancestors. So I want to ask them, people that think that you are the descendants of the ancient ones of that land, why don't you know the language? How come you can't? Why somebody else had to come in and tell you what the hieroglyph says?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how come I don't see the color represented in you that's on them walls? And why is it that the Arabs and the Jewish people who revere their dead and say that you cannot disturb them, why are you disturbing those over there in the tombs and graves and stuff?
Yeah, answer those questions.
Why?
Yep.
If you won't let nobody disturb your ancestors, that they found that grave over in East Europe, and you told them don't touch them and disturb them, but yet you disturbing so many bones, putting them through MRI, studying them, researching them. You was even digging them up and making tonics out of their bodies.
Oh,
in the 20th century. The 20th century is when it stopped. We're in the 21st century, so that wasn't long ago that they stopped. Why are you eating your own people?
Right.
Okay, so we need to look at these things, and we need to ask them these hard questions.
Yep.
Game over.
Yep.
Game over. Game over.
They're dealing with some serious cognitive dissonance.
They sure are. Yes, they are. All right. So there's only one group of people who has suffered each and every one of these abuses. And here they are. No other group of people suffered more. No other people. They look like us. They are us. These are our ancestors. These are us today.
Right. Except for that white guy in the other picture. He's not us.
No, he isn't. He's a being, one of those evil beings.
Enemy.
Yes. But do you see what is here? You see what he's holding? Let's get a closer look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each one of them.
Yeah. Look like your brother, your father, your uncle.
I want our brothers and sisters on the continent to know, because they're just really finding out what happened to us over here.
That's right.
They cut out. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
They cut off our ancestors' hand and feet too. When they tried to run away, they would cut their feet off.
Yeah.
You know,
they did.
Some horrible things to all of us. So all of it, the only difference that I say is that we were in the land of our captivity when these horrible things were happening to us, and they were in our motherland. That's the only difference.
Yep. Now I'm gonna share something else.
babies out of our mother's belly. Using our ancestors. I sent Nzambi a story I found. It was an article that was written, I think, in the 1800s. Where was this? I think it was a doctor that used our ancestors' skin to make some shoes.
I'm gonna show it to them.
They made shoes, they made belts, and they still have these heirlooms in their family to this day, you all. They have to pay. All of them have to pay.
All right. Can y'all see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a lot of our brothers and sisters on the continent that are unfamiliar with the KKK. When we went to Tanzania and we were sharing with them about the KKK, they looked at us and asked, who is that? They didn't know who the KKK was. Yeah. These are the KKK, Ku Klux Klansmen. And they don't like us.
Thank you.
You have a couple of pictures up, so are you wanted to show them one specific picture? Because you have a group of pictures showing.
Do I?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know who the KKK is, but they what
Okay.
the pictures they won't know.
All right. Let me try it this way. There we go. All right. I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Is that better?
they go them devils.
Yeah.
She said, there go them devils.
Yeah.
Yes. These are the KKK. And you see they got their face covered.
Cowards.
Yes.
Hi.
They're white entities. And they got those pillowcases over their head with the eyes cut out. They do not like the melanated people.
Mm-mm.
And they seek to kill us, to do us harm.
Yep.
Now, to give them just a little bit of history.
You want to share the history? Go ahead.
In short, they just came about after supposedly Emancipation Proclamation came about, when they supposedly freed our ancestors. These same people that supposedly was behind this came up with these entities, these people that terrorized our ancestors. They took a lot of our land. They would come at night. They would burn, set the houses on fire, run them out of town and take their land. So it has been a lot of land that has been taken from our people because they terrorized us. And the law was not on our side, as it isn't today. Just like they're getting off killing a lot of our young men. They killed a lot of our people, stole a lot of our land. And they, I keep telling you all that I'm from the most racist state in America, Mississippi. And how, Philadelphia is you all seen Mississippi Burning. That was about this 3 guys that was killed. 2 of them was a Jewish guy. One of them was Jewish guy. One of them was this black guy that my mom went to school with in Mississippi, where the KKK killed them when they was coming to register to vote in Mississippi, and they killed them. So these KKK, they went about doing some very destructive things to our people, and they don't wear the mask anymore. They actually have them in museums, and the family have them as heirlooms. They now wear suits and ties in these CEO corporations, in politics.
Police.
They're the policemen. Yeah. So, but that's just a brief history of they just terrorizers of Black people is what they are.
Showing this picture now, as you see, I had it up for a minute as she was talking, that he has a noose in his hand, hanging out the car. And that's what they used to hang our ancestors. And
So before they were called the KKK, they were called the Slave Patrol after they passed the Emancipation Act. And there are a bunch of laws called anti-miscegenation laws, which gave the Slave Patrol the right to accuse us of any act that would then land you in prison, because then the 13th Amendment would then return you back to the position of being enslaved. So this slave patrol people, what they would do before, they occupied positions as lawyers, as policemen, as whatever was highest in the township. But because before they began putting on these covers, they had no need to disguise themselves, because they simply were the same people behaving that our people were accustomed to before the quote unquote freedom was given. Once they then pursued, those in the North kept pursuing the freedom of people, of slaves, they began donning these hoods, because at this point in time, their behavior was being shunned on by the rest of the country. So in the backwoods of Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, Arkansas, which is where I think they started. I'm not certain where their chapter began, but they Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And so the slave patrol then just elevated it expanded into what we see now today in politics. And they've just simply taken offices, but they always were in those offices. They donned sheets for a moment of time, but that passed. But this is a result. And if you haven't read anti-miscegenation laws, it was crazy. Like, we couldn't walk down the street. We'd be accused of vagrancy. You couldn't gather in one place, and any place would be solicitation, or it's just, and they would take you directly to jail.
You couldn't even look at a Mundele in the eye.
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
No, it's like we had to bow our heads to them and say,
Yeah.
it's mass, whatever they call them, demons.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for our people on the continent. It's important for us, first of all, to realize, so white people haven't done anything to us. Our people disobeyed a direct command from Tata Nzambi pertaining to idol worships, and we don't talk about that enough. We are stiff-necked people. This is what we actually need to talk more about. What is up with us to where we can't follow the instructions of our father and our mother? And until we do so, whatever it is that we're vying for is never going to happen. This is about a stiff-necked people who, for some reason, think it's better to look outside of the tenets and the mandates of Tata Nzambi and Mama Ndombe. This is really what this is about. These people we were put in a position to be overtaken. See, this is like, they didn't do anything to us. We did this to ourselves. And they simply capitalized on the position we're in based upon this 400-year punishment, whatever it is that we were under, the turning away. It's the same. It doesn't matter what word we use. We misbehaved, and there was a punishment that was the end result of that. That punishment ended 2019, 2020, after 400 years. So this is like really doing what we need to do. All of this is about following the commandments. All of this is about getting out of our own heads about what we think is right. It's already written what we need to be doing. We don't have to think this out. Our actions are to be a direct result of what is written, how we're to be behaving with each other. We don't get to make that up. We don't get to supersede on what's written already. That's what the Jews did. They supersede on everything. They keep making changes, right? And so for us, the understanding is a stiff-necked people misbehave, and that misbehaving period, these people took extreme advantage because they understood how powerful we were as a connected people. Everything they've done is to disconnect us. Our only job is to get reconnected. Everything else falls into place. We don't have to think about all these other things. But the fact of the matter is, a stiff-necked people need to come about. This is what time it is. Focus is just simply on correcting our path back to Tata Nzambi and Mama Ndombe.
And actually, it's been longer than 400 years. It's been, slavery was going on when the Romans came in, you know, because we've been overtaken for thousands of years in our land. And that's why we ended up where we are. We were running away from these people that were coming in and overtaking our land. You know, you had, I'm jumping because I know it was more than this. You had the Greeks, and then that's why you had the Ptolemies, and then you had the Romans, and the Romans were enslaving our people.
It's still, this is all after the fact though. What had happened with Massa going up to receive those, that happened prior to. When this happened when Massa went up. This is where we need to be focusing on what happened with our separation. It was declared we would go, all of what unfolded after that happened, but we portrayed an act that took some time before we were put into the consequent state of it. We need to go back to how we got separated. And that came when we left out of Egypt. That's what happened. Everything else happened after that.
Yes, and that's what I'm getting up to, because like I said, we've been enslaved longer than 400 years. I know our people focus on that because it's in the Bible, but actually it's longer than that. The Romans are still in power now. They were the one that were the last one to enslave our people. And I was reading in a book where they were talking about where the Greeks, when they came in and took, because it's more than we just became stiff-necked people. It's deeper than that as well. I'm not saying we're not stiff-necked people, because we are, but it's deeper than that when you begin to look at it, because the Bible also says that we cannot curse these people, so we have to do something to curse themselves. So it ain't only just us. They put us in a position to cause us to do this, and that's what I'm getting at.
But the argument, like that argument, like, okay, so we're talking about a people connected, that then a people come in. No, we have to see, we fail to understand that we are not a perfect people. There are people in our ranks that just wasn't doing the right thing. This happened before the flood.
Nobody's perfect.
Before the flood, there was just us. So we were those people portraying those rude acts in Sodom and Gomorrah, you know, and Noah was after the flood. Then how did this sin and stuff begin in the planet again? We know that there's an influence of Satan still down here. I think we don't look enough at our behavior. We keep wanting to make someone else to blame, and that's not healthy for us to take in. That means we never have to settle and understand how we're accountable and responsible for the actions that we have.
But when we understand how we got here, that will help us to help us get out of our situation. And what I was trying to say is, in this book that I read, when it was talking about when our land in Kemet was overtaken by the Grecians was not as harsh as the Romans. They were, but not as harsh as the Romans. And they came in and they manipulated our writings and our scrolls, and they changed up and came up with this religion, and they tried to get our ancestors to follow them, and our ancestors would not. In this article, this book that I read, they would not with the Grecians. When the Romans took over, the Romans were harsher. Our ancestors would not change. They said, well, this is not our ways. And they began killing our people, it says, slaughtering them. And even in the book of Wars of Josephus, he said that there was a great slaughtering of the people, and they began to run deeper down into Africa, because our ancestors were refusing to take upon this new religion, this perverted way that they were offering. Then we went down deeper into Africa, and we began to forget. I haven't got to that part of how that happened. We began to forget some of the things that our ancestors taught us and that we knew in Kemet. And so when they came in the 1400s, I'm talking about the Europeans now, because we have the Arabic slave trade as well that took place. So when we go to the 1400s, when they came into the Portuguese were the first that came into Congo, they brought us this perversion that had already been about for hundreds of years when they were first in Kemet, and took when the Romans, when they were the Byzantine Empire, when they took our scrolls of our ancestors and they perverted it. Because when you look at a lot of their gods, they're nothing more than a lot of our ancestors, a lot of our gods and goddesses that we have on our wall. And they presented to our people down in Africa in the 1400s, this Bible this perverted Bible that they had written. There was some familiarity in there. It looked familiar. And they would say, oh, when they was trying to tell them, oh, this is the, oh yeah, we have the temple. Oh, this is it. And it was a trickery. I'm not saying that we are not taking accountability. We all have to take accountability for our actions, but yet too, we have to look at the whole totality of the picture of how we got here so that it will not happen again.
Mhm. Yeah.
As they were talking, you all saw I was sharing some pictures, you know, and I said that, you know, some of these are disturbing. This is the Persian slave trade here. So you see, again, I said it before that no other group of people have gone through anything like this. It's been us. So, and I want to make sure that you all see these pictures here. I showed you one where the guy, there was the slave patrol that and Kosi Energy was talking about, was on the horse and had the whip over the man, you know, and they were whipping him. They were on horses. So this is what the whip does to our ancestors. This is what it did. You know, it angers me. Again, the abuse of the chosen, the abuse of the Asili, the abuse of the seed. We are the children of the Most High. We are God's. I'm going to show you one more. And this one. And then I will move on with the PowerPoint. Look at how they did. Got them on trees. These are our ancestors. They brought us from the continent, and this is how they treated us. And Brenda said it earlier. Those slave patrols, they're now the police officers here in the United States. They are now the judges, CEOs, politicians, attorneys, presidents. And you want to come here thinking that we have a better life? Like I said, you come to this place to have a better life. You're literally giving yourself over to them as a slave. You would become more of a slave to them than we are now. All right, let me get back to the PowerPoint. So my lovely wife found this for me, and I appreciate her for it. And she found some of those pictures too. History. How skin of Black people was used for leather for shoes and other wares in 1880s Philadelphia. Below is a newspaper publication by Philadelphia News that captures various reports of white Americans who used the skin of Black people, enslaved Africans, to make shoes, slippers, and other personal effects. Read the publication below. Philadelphia News. The Mercury Saturday morning, March 17, 1888. So the Mercury is the newspaper company. It says, I recall mentioning 2 or 3 years ago that a renowned physician in our city was wearing shoes made from slaves' skin. He continued to follow what tradition claiming that an African's tanned skin produces the most durable and malleable leather known to man. I only met him on the street last week with a beautiful new pair of sneakers. I smiled as I stared at his shoes, as I often do. His pedal coverings have an irresistible fascination for me, and said, let me get my cursor going here. Do you still have the trodden down African beneath your feet? I presume you mean to inquire if I still wear shoes made of Negro skin, he replied flatly and without a hint of a smile. I absolutely do, and I have no intention of changing until I find a leather that is softer, lasts longer, and has a nicer aesthetic. This is a subject about which I have no feelings. If I were a Southerner in the American sense, I could be accused of being motivated by racial prejudice. But by birth, I'm a foreigner who has become an American citizen by naturalization. I took part in the insurrection so that Black people could be emancipated. If a white man's skin was thick enough, I use it for the same reason. And if anyone wants to put my epidermis on his feet after I've taken my last breath, he has my ante-mortem approval or anti-mortem approval. In their Blackness, the doctor's shoes always have an unusual rich lustrousness. He assures me that his feet are never hurt. When I last saw him, the new pair he was wearing made no creaking noises and appeared to be as comfortable as if they had been worn for a month. He told me that their predecessors had been in constant use for 8 months. He gets the skins from Negroes whose bodies have been dissected in one of our major medical schools. The nicest leather may be found on the thighs. Sick. The soles are made of gluing together multiple layers of leather. A tanner in Wormsdorf, 16 miles from Reading, prepares the skin. The shoes are made by a local French shoemaker who has no idea what the leather's true character is, but who marvels at its perfect smoothness and claims that it outperforms the finest French calf skin. Do not believe for a moment that this doctor is an exception in terms of putting human skin to practical use. Medical students frequently display a wide range of things in which the skin or bones of some dissected humans have been gruesomely used, and they occasionally offer these to their friends who appreciate them greatly. Of the town's nefarious characters, carries a matchbox with a chunk of the skin of a lovely young woman discovered drowned in the Delaware River. It hasn't lost its natural color. All right. Brenda's telling me that's enough. You don't have to read anymore. But this is the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Another young man I know carries a cigar box made of Negro skin with a horrible skull and crossbones carved in relief on one side. One of the country's most well-known surgeons who practice in this city has a stunning instrument case made completely of leather derived from an African skin. A magnificent pair of dark slippers are worn by a young society girl in this city, and the exceptional lustrousness of the leather always draws the admiration of her acquaintances when they see them. The young doctor who gave them to her had just returned from a long trip abroad, And he told her that he had bought them from a Turk in Alexandria. He didn't know what kind of leather they were made of, but he assumed it was the skin of some wild animal. The leather was made in Wolfsendorf or Wumseldorf, and the skin originated from a Negro cadaver that was previously prone on a Jefferson College dissecting table. The Negro's kinky hair was used to make the rosettes or rosettes on the slippers. So this shows how they treated us.
Humans don't do this.
No, they don't.
There's no humanness in anybody that does anything to this degree. We need to first understand that. And we need to ask ourselves, why is it that the melanated man, the Black man, is hated all around the globe? That's first and foremost we need to ask. Why? That is how I came to where I am. I started asking that question to the Creator and I got my answer. Why? When we have done nothing to nobody. It is who you are. It is who, remember, the scripture does say, we cannot curse them. There's nothing we can do to them. We have to get them to do it to themselves. And they're still doing it today. When you look at the structure of the government buildings in America, it's the same as in Rome, Colosseum. The structure is made up the same. They have the Senate in Rome. They have the Senate here. Everything is the same. This is the little horn that came back. Rome is still over us today, these brutal beings. And their oppressive ways that they do to people today. Do this or this going to happen to you. As they did in antiquity. They still doing it today. Forcing people to do things or else. And well, I'm just leave it at that. The same people that were the last one that took over our land, still the one that's ruling over us today.
Right. And not only are they still ruling over us here in the diaspora, but they're ruling on the continent of Africa. So what do we have to do? What do we have to do? We have to come together. First, know who you are. When I say that we are gods, I'm not just talking. I'm telling you, we are gods. Tap into who you truly are. Tap into it. That's the first thing. Second thing, we need to heal. How do we heal? We heal by working with each other. Stop fighting each other. Stop talking about each other. We must recognize again that we have been tricked. We've been lied to. We've been deceived. Remember this scripture in the Bible where Satan said, I shall arise, ascend above the clouds, and be like God? When he said that, look at those who are ruling. They are Satan. They're the enemy. It's not just one. It's not just one. It's a system. It's these enemies. It's these entities that are ruling. We must recognize that. If you're tired of it, then we need to work together. We need to come together. We need to be that family again. and come together, unite, and start speaking against these enemies. Our words are our weapons. And as we reconnect to our ancestors, our elevated Bakulu, who are there waiting for us to reconnect, if you have not connected with them, this is not sorcery. This is not wickedness. This is not demonic. That's what was told to you by these evil entities. You reconnect with your ancestors and start speaking like the gods you are. We already see the kingdom. Part of this kingdom is collapsing. It's falling. We see it. Keep speaking. Keep decreeing and declaring. And those puppets on the continent, decree and declare that they come down. We are speaking with you. We're ready to come home and unite. And guess what? They know it. They know. They're making the tickets so high that my baby keep hitting the they're making the tickets so high that they know, again, remember, financial abuse. So they know it's hard for us to come home. I remember growing up and they would tell, I would hear people say to me, go back to Africa. Go back to Africa. And they were not people saying it to me. They were these evil entities because they're not human. Telling me go back to Africa. Now they don't want us to go. They'll tell you, they'll say, go back to your land, but they don't want us to go because they know, first of all, they got puppets over there who won't open the doors to let us come home. And there are some who have opened the doors and say, come home. But there's something attached to it. We need true brothers and sisters to be in office over there who would genuinely open the doors and say, diaspora, my brothers and sisters, come home. You've been away far too long. You've been abused far too long. And it's time to come home and reconnect and rebuild. And we need to get those evil entities out of the continent of Africa. I'm not saying let them live in a certain area over there, or no, they need to get out. Because that's our home. And we're ready to come home. So we need to heal. We need to reunite. And we need to drop the ways of these Mundelis. We need to get out of this system and stand up and rise together and be one again. That's who we are. So with that said, I am done. I thank you, Matondo Masaka, for being with us. I ask that you would share this video. Make it go viral. Make it go viral because this need to be heard to all of our melanated brothers and sisters. It need to be heard by those in office, in the government on the continent. They need to hear it. We're tired of being under the foot of these evil entities who care nothing about us. We're ready to come home, reunite, work together and be one family. We want our culture back, our language back, our heritage, everything. We want our tribe. We want our kingdom. We want our people. We want to come back. We want to know who we are, reconnect, and move forward and be one. Restore the land. Restore the kingdom of Zulu. We are the Zulu nation. We are. So before I close, is there anyone here that has anything to say?
Yeah, I would just like to say to our brothers and sisters on the continent, especially to the ones that are in leadership positions, I know how in spirituality we reverence and honor our ancestors. But think about this. Those of us that are in the diaspora, we have the same ancestors that you have. It's just that somewhere down the line, some of our ancestors were stolen. So we're of the same bloodline. Your ancestors are our ancestors. So you should want us back home.
Yes. Beautifully put. Matondo Masaka, beautifully put. Matondo. And they definitely need to know we didn't ask to be here, nor did our ancestors ask to come. As you have well said, they were stolen. They were taken off the continent and brought to this despicable place. So, Matondo Masaka, we love you greatly, and we shall see you again. Basseh, Basseh, Basseh.
Basseh, Basseh.
Basseh, Basseh.